Alrighty, hey guys, this is KMKanDrum. I'm here with Bill Moorehouse, and we're gonna do the third installment of, I guess I'm gonna be calling this the Q&A with KMKanDrum, because I got some really good suggestions from your guys' comments, but they were more geared towards just drummers, and I want to open this forum to other musicians as well. Bill here, he also plays guitar, so that kind of goes along the lines of me wanting to not just interview drummers, but musicians, and who knows, maybe people that have nothing to do with music either. So I think I'm going to call it Q&A with KMKanDrum. So that's what it's going to be called, and I have Bill here. Hey, Bill, how's it going?
Not bad, man. Greetings from California.
Awesome. How's the weather out there?
You can't beat it. We're not getting the heat wave, so yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bill's channel is quite the eclectic channel. He's got some pretty awesome stuff. So if you guys have some time, check it out. I like all the stuff. I like all the different drummers that are out on YouTube. There's such a wide variety of players out there, and it's so cool to be able to get to meet all of you guys doing this whole thing. So I have some questions. Are you ready for them?
Prepared. Let's rock.
Alrighty. Okay, so the first set of questions are pretty easy. They're drum-related questions. The first question is, drums is a huge commitment, and you and I both know how much time and effort it takes to actually be able to play the drums somewhat decently. So I want to know, how long have you been in this relationship with the drums?
So for me, it's probably, I would go with about 7 or 8 years total. So I had played for a couple years in my 20s, and then I, picked it up again, maybe 6 years ago,
Cool.
and started spending a lot of time on it. So, the first time around, I did take some lessons, and it was more like jazz lessons, so that's how I got introduced to the kit. That's why I play with traditional grip, just because the first type of drums I learned was jazz, or attempted to learn, right? And then I took a while off. I didn't play any music for maybe 12, 15 years. I wanted to do other stuff. And when I got back into it, it was like the V drums had gotten so much better. That was one of the things where I thought, because I like to be able to practice all times a day, and I hate bothering people. I don't want to. So that was something I thought would be fun. And then once I started to do it, I started to get more into it than I expected. It kind of like a lot of old memories came and stuff. So, so the reason I think I shared some information with you before where I was playing guitar is not, I definitely do not consider myself a guitarist, but just to illustrate it's about 8 years, but I have played other instruments, so it's a little bit different than, if I was like 20, which I'm definitely not. So, as you may have surmised. So,
All right. Well, cool. I'm looking forward to your answer for this question, because you have a very eclectic taste, and I want to know. It's really hard for drummers to just single out one drummer as their ultimate favorite. So instead, I want to ask a question that kind of can take maybe 4 of your favorite drummers and not have to dial in on one. So the question is, if you could take someone's hands, someone else's feet, someone else's mind, and someone else's heart and soul, what 4 drummers would you pick out of those categories?
That's good. Well, let me answer it this way. So the hands part's easy. I would think, for me, Dennis Chambers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen him do some things that are crazy, but cool. That's the thing. It's not like just somebody who's going nuts just to show off technique. Like, it fits with the music, and it's super funky, but just technically, like, absolutely devastating. Actually, I was taking drum lessons, I think it was last year or two, and I made a video about it. And I was talking to the instructor about just how do you kind of mentally deal with people like that and your ego, and he was like, look, you're never gonna play like that guy, right? But, But he's like, but that's all right, because you're not him. You know, like, if that was supposed to be your thing, it would be your thing. But don't worry about that. You know what I mean? I don't think he was trying to let me down easy. I think he was just being like, that's, you know. But, you know, I was thinking when I first started to listen to drums and really like the drums and think about the drummer and what the drummer was doing, I wasn't. It was like when I was in high school, one of my best friends was a drummer. So I played saxophone. That was like my main instrument. I'd been playing since I was a little kid. We played in like a jazz band together, a jazz combo and things in high school. And, you know, but because I had a best friend that was a drummer, it was like you started, you know, I'd ask questions like, what does this thing do? And, you know, like, why are you deaf? You know, when you're like 14 years old. But the first drummer I remember hearing that I really was like blown away by was Herb Alexander from Primus. So I was just like, when Frizzle Fry came out, I was, you know, I mean, I was like 14 or something. And I remember my friend, the same guy, the drummer, was like, there's this band Primus, you know, this is going to completely blow your mind. When I heard it, it was like, you know, before and after, you know what I'm saying? In terms of like how innovative they were. And I feel like with Herb, you know, they called him Herb or whatever, Tim Alexander, his, you know, maybe he wasn't as innovative as Les Claypool, right, which is a tall order, but his level of intensity and his musicianship was totally on par. He was, you know, keeping up and giving just as good as he got with Les Claypool, and it was great. Like that intensity, I would put that under like, you know, you said the heart or something. To me, heart's like passion, right? And like he always brought that flavor to Primus. Awesome. So and then, I mean, and then Mind, you know, maybe like I did like Stuart Copeland a lot. I think for a while, for a good, I don't know, 5 years, the Police were like, you know, when I was still had favorite. Yes, I was younger, but like I listened to the Police. They were like it. They were, you know, every little thing she does is magic. Like the stuff on that Stuart Copeland played, things like that. So I was really into him for a really long time. So really rock, right? It was a lot of rock drummers. I mean, more on there is like the other side on the sort of soul, like Elvin Jones. Was someone I always really enjoyed. Just, you know, I mean, you know, John Coltrane is very spiritual, obviously, and I think you know, Jones and the band that went with him, you know, are really amazing. Like the technical part, you don't even really think about it actually. Like what beat are they playing, or you know, it's not really like that, right? Because they're so out there in the music they're playing. So those are all, you know. But one thing I would say, which goes sort of to the eclectic music thing, is I think I tend to have a lot of you know, like those musician crushes or whatever that are not on drummers, you know, like you know, like there's a shredder. I've been into shredder guitarists for like the past year for some reason, and you know, there's a guy Matthias Eklund, he's Swedish. I've been really liking his music a lot and just listening to it constantly, and then like Jonas Hellborg, the bass player, you know, is just crazy. And Jaco Pastorius is another person that, like, I had another really good bass player friend, and just you know, it's like sometimes it doesn't have to be about the drums, right? Because it's like how the people approach the music and the stuff they do with the music that can get you excited, right? Like Jaco used to talk about, like you've probably seen the movie, right? The one that the recent biopic about him, or no? No. Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, the guy Robert Trujillo, like the bass player for Metallica, I think, like funded for it and produced it. So cool. It's got a ton of information about Jaco Pastorius, but he was saying when he's a lot of the times he would is Frank Sinatra, and it's crazy. Like if you listen to some of his solos, you can hear it does sort of sound like he's trying to do a vibrato, like a voice or whatever. So that's what it tends to be like for me. I'll get into like a certain you know, musician for a while and really start, you know, trying to dig everything they've done, you know.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah. Really, really cool in-depth answer. So something that doesn't need much depth, or maybe it does, who knows. Do you like wood or nylon tip?
So the short is wood, and the slightly longer answer is I've never tried nylon tip sticks. I'm like, I don't have that fascination, I think, with gear. I mean, it's not like I don't like gear and good instruments. But I don't spend as much time on it as I probably should. So, just recently, like within the last year, I think some people were leaving some comments where they're kind of like, yeah, it's hard to reach some of those cymbals, huh? There's longer sticks, and I was like, oh, they come in different lengths, like amazing, So, I started experimenting with stuff like that. And yeah, the other thing is like I only really had acoustic drums and become the whole like mechanical expert that you have to be to play those for like the past year or two. So now I'm starting to get a better appreciation for everything. But so does that make sense? Like, I'm a little bit.
Yeah, totally.
I don't have the same range of experience on things like that.
No, that's totally fine. Like
I do like. I would say open hold flutes though. Always, no closed hold. Only open hold flutes.
Okay, let's go to the next one. Double pedal or single pedal?
So until like a month ago, it would have been single pedal. So like I said, we were saying before, I first got into jazz, and actually it's funny because I've broken the expectation I had. Like I was like, I will never be one of those dudes that has like cymbals everywhere, like 90 cymbals. I'm like, I only need like 2 because I'm cool, and like I'll never have a double pedal, and like all of those things I've broken. But what I started doing is about right after whenever I put the last videos online, I got tendonitis in one of my arms. So I haven't played like with all my limbs for like 6 weeks, and I've been playing only with my feet now for like over a week. So what I decided was basically, it's one of those things with tendonitis, you have to rest and stop doing whatever it is you're doing that's causing it. So I was like, well, I might as well just start working on some stuff with my feet because I'm kind of stuck doing that anyways. So I bought a double pedal maybe like a month ago. I'm still like figuring making it work and stuff. All the different features, but so now that's pretty much what I've been doing, and I'm gonna try to do a video that's like 100 days of bass drum development or something. Hopefully, I'll think of a cooler title than. I saw a video on YouTube where there was a guitarist doing this pick sweep technique, and so he went from like couldn't do it, was like, and then it would over time it showed him like learning this technique, and I was like, what a cool idea, just to see. I don't really know what's going to happen, right? I'm 34 days into it, so I'm a third of the way through. I've taken video almost every day. And some of the video, when you're trying to practice new stuff, some of it's pretty bad, But I feel like I'm improving. So what I'm hoping is when I get further on, I'll start doing the video editing and, Anyways, I just want to see if it works as a concept, I think that what I found is like, you got to try different things, see what works for you. And that idea, I like that idea of doing it a little bit at a time. What I don't like is the idea of how much video editing work that's going to be. So yeah. I'm slightly terrified of what that's going to mean. But so yeah, I am like, and the double bass thing I like because, you can really take all of these exercises that you figured out how to do on your hands and you on your feet. You can do that with a hi-hat and a bass drum, but it doesn't feel the same.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been, I'm going deep, but that's where I'm at.
Awesome. Yeah. We were talking about that off camera, and you really got me inspired to work on my hands and try to do this 100 days thing, because for me, I've always been trying to practice my left hand, but I've never had the right kind of motivation, I guess. And the 100 days is like it's a quantifiable thing. It's something that you can work to, and you can see an end. 100 days, there's the end right there. You gotta like just work on it up until then and see what happens. Before it was kind of just like, I just gotta work on this thing until
I just have to do
I'm
it.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a bad feeling,
Exactly. Yeah.
One of the things that I realized a year or two ago was like how important the kind of snare drum technique stuff was. I think because I've never been exposed to that, I underestimated. Drum set's so fascinating, right? Like if I have practice time and you can work on patterns and things, I could do that all day long, right? So the snare stuff, I would work on it like, and I, to try to have a baseline, and I took some lessons and stuff. But then when I started to really watch things and like listen more carefully, I was like realizing, wow, this is like a big problem for me, a big problem, like, because it impacts everything, So like a year or two ago, I went back and started taking lessons, and it was like ego shattering. Like I came in and I was like, hey, here's, and within 15 seconds, the guy was like, mm-hmm. So here's it was really helpful, but yeah. And then in terms of the skills, I right now I have a much healthier relationship with practicing than I used to when I was younger and I was studying like saxophone and things really seriously. At the time it was just like work, and I would do it, and you gotta like do these unpleasant things, eat your vegetables to get strong or whatever. And now the way I think about it is more like it's really not like technique is like a thing. It's like there's a lot of different skills and techniques you can apply to the instrument, and like so whatever songs I'm trying to learn, those demand something that I can't do, so then I try to work on that area. And it's even like I remember the first video of yours I think I ever watched was you were playing that song Rosanna, and now like if you get some kind of similar groove that pops up, you'll just like you have something cold where you can slide right into it. So I mean, I feel like it's the same thing with different elements, like the whole the bass drum now, like that'll come in, new things will appear in your head that once you like figure out how to do that, right? So
exactly,
so I don't look at it as like a linear thing, which I used to, and it used to stress me out more. So yeah.
Well,
hopefully
that's
that makes
cool.
Sense. Yeah,
it's great that we're talking about practice, because my next question is really all about practice and what old school guys do versus the new school guys. So really, it's all about whether you use a metronome or your internal clock.
So all of the above. I would I definitely love the metronome. I mean, I would say if you at least 50% of any time I'm sitting at the drum set, probably even 60% I'm using a metronome, like of all the time. It's just a big part. But there's some things that I also like to do that I think the goal is things like accuracy and groove, right? Like that's kind of why we use the metronome, right? So with the recording software, which I know you have like similar, like a DAW, one of the things I love to do is like I'll take a loop, I'll create a loop of like say a verse of a song, and so I'll get that loop, and then I'll slow it down to like 70% of regular speed and 90%. And I really love to do that because it's like then you just like you slow it and you just spend time on it and just settle into that, and it works out a lot. Then by the time you speed it up, everything's just kind of smooth. It just coasts along,
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, I love doing that.
I've never thought to do that ever.
Yeah, loops are really helpful. There's this probably one of the covers I made that I'm like the happiest with would be this Tear Gas Jazz, which is more recent, and like so basically the verse. I gotta tell you a story about that drummer, but the verse is so it's like 140 BPM, so it's like pretty like brisk like this. So he's doing like quarter notes on a china, like it's a metal kind of song, smashing the china, and then he's doing eighth notes on his left foot, so it's kind of pretty quick, like, and the beat's like boom, ba 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 doom doom ba 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 doo doo. So it's a super bouncy beat, and I wanted to, like I slowed it way. You could try different ghost notes with it and things to make it feel groovy, and then speed it up and try to keep the groove, basically, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, to me that's like a way you're working on the same skill, but it's a lot more fun, right? Like to then doing it with. And the other thing I'll do actually is like if I'm working on something that I'm trying to get it so I can play it up to speed, like once I figured it out, then I'll create in the software, I'll have it play 3 times at like 70% speed, 3 times at 80, and have it go up from there and see how far I can do it, and then it just loops and I start again. So it's really helpful, basically.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like I
Mhm.
I don't know if I'd ever have the time to actually do that, but if I did, I'm definitely gonna try it.
Mm.
So
The thing-
the last yeah.
Okay. I was just gonna say the thing is, like with something like that, once you do it once or twice, it's not a lot of work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but I hear what you're saying. Yeah, you know what? I try to check myself all the times, just staying away from like. There's a lot of editing and things you could do that is not, to me. It's like I'll get excited and be like, oh, I'm gonna make this really quick video the way this is going right now, and I'm like, oh yeah, really quick video turns into 4 hours later, right? I'm like still working on it. So I know what you mean. You gotta be careful about getting too lost in the technology and stuff. Yep.
Yeah, totally.
Yep.
Okay, so last drum question. Why drums?
Yeah, that's basically, it's definitely, that is like home for me. So it was when I was playing the saxophone, first, I mean, really, I was trying to get my ear around all the pitches and the chords and things like that. And that was always the hardest part for me, was like, saxophone, like a lot of wind instruments, it's naturally, some of the notes are pretty out of tune. So just to like play in tune, you have to like adjust some of the notes, and and that was always the stuff for me. And the rhythm was kind of like, it was like obvious. You know what I mean? I'm like, why are they even teaching us? Like it was so much easier. Then I started playing a little bit. I actually have a video and some pictures of when my high school's drum set somehow became my drum set. Someone sold it to me, which is crazy, Like, this is like years later. I'm like, wait a minute, isn't that drum set? And then that ended up going to my girlfriend at the time, because she played flute and she wanted to switch to drums. And then I never saw the drum set again. But that's all right. It was fine. It was time. But I like before I sent you that thing, the guitar thing, I had been playing drums a little bit and was really digging it. And then now it's at a point where I definitely know I'm going in the right direction, but this is the thing. The past year or two, I realized I don't know where I'm going. But I'm still comfortable it's the right direction, and that's weird. Like, I used to have more specific goals, but now I'm like, no, this is the right thing. I need to be working on this stuff, and then it just feels like that's the right way to proceed, basically. So let me put it this way: like, if I have like a Saturday or a Sunday or whatever, I don't stop to eat, like I just want to like keep playing, and it's like really a pleasure, because when I've done other instruments, like guitar hates me, it just I like, every time I put down the guitar, I'm like, no, that is not good,
Yeah.
So yeah, drums just feels like it's just always fun, which is great.
Awesome. Really
Yeah.
cool answer. Okay, so now we're going to move to the second set of questions, which I like to call job-related questions. So let's play. Let's role play. I'll be the employer. You'll be the prospective employee.
Okay.
And let's.
What kind of
pretend
cappuccino machine do you have?
It's one of those heavy industrial ones. I don't know what the brand is.
Italian?
Italian. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, proceed.
Alrighty, so let's see. My first question as an employer: what are your strengths?
So I would say organization and just putting in the effort is like very important to me. So like an example I'll give you with, like, although you asked in a professional way, but like when I do play with other people, usually when I show up, if they've given me the stuff in advance, I know all of the songs. Like I know the cues. I've probably written down the hard parts. I have questions. Like, I'm ready. Right. So it's I won't go play with people if I don't feel like I'm gonna be able to do that. it's funny because I was listening to the thing we were talking with Earl. That's an amazing skill set, right? And he consciously developed that skill set to be able to like play it once and be like, it's not quite right. I'm going to play it again, right? So I'm not sure how well I could do that. I mean, I am pretty comfortable with a lot of different types of music, but yeah, the preparation, that is the key. And it's like I take pride in it, like I love being the person that it's like they, and I'm like, oh no, that we repeated it again. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And then I would say I tend to be really easy to work with. I mean, like, I usually don't have expectations if I go to play music with people because I'm pretty happy with what I'm doing on my own. So it's just like a bonus for me, right? Nice. So I don't really care what happens. And if they're like, I remember I was playing with these guys, started playing that Hard to Handle, and I started to rock out and they were like stopped and were like, that is way too loud. And I was like, yeah, like,
uh-oh, I think we got a... Oh, here we go.
There you are. Okay, where'd you lose me?
You're saying you're playing too loud.
Yeah, they're like, that's way too loud. I was like, I was like, I think that's the way the song is, and they said, that's not the way we're playing it. And I was like, okay, fine. Like, we just, right? Like, so I tend to be pretty flexible, right? It's not like, and to try to progress whatever it is we're doing, right? Like, if we're here to play through a bunch of tunes, then I'm going to focus on that. I'm not gonna, we can catch up later, whatever. Let's work on it. You know what I mean? Like, so, yeah.
Cool.
That's it. Yeah.
All right. Well, what are your weaknesses?
So I'd say, weaknesses. One of the things is, there's the things that I'm really into. Those are the things that motivate you, right? Like the things that really get you going. So the reality is, and again, I'm kind of framing it in terms of music, because professionally, I don't have any weaknesses. This has been demonstrated again and again. So, but musically, my tastes are they're kind of just a small market for what I'm into. So that's kind of a limiting factor for me. I think if I'm doing anything artistic that is artistic output, it's not. I don't really have a main mindset. We say that like I don't like some mainstream things, and enjoy them the same way. But like I know if you're into weird, I think you got to be honest with yourself about, like, who are you going to attract that's going to be interested? Like, what's your tribe? You know what I mean? Who's going to be interested in you, right? So, and I mean, I could play like Aerosmith, covers. Nothing wrong with Aerosmith, right? I just don't feel like that would be like, it doesn't have anything to do with me. Like, there's nothing special to me about that. So a lot of the times, like, there's some songs that I've wanted to play and I thought were not even appropriate for the YouTube channel. Some of the ones I have played have been pretty out there, I think, like metal and Indian music mixed together and stuff like that. But there have been things I've named, like that's just too offensive or something, and I don't want to like turn people off. But I think that actually brings me to, a good area that I've been thinking about lately, which is like, what is your right for a YouTube channel? And one thing that's helpful for me is like a YouTube channel, just because it's named, I am not the channel, right? It's just like a project that you do, that, So I feel like I have that separation where I'm like, I don't know, there's lots of things we could do, right? But I think what I'm going to do is there's always going to be what to me are the big pieces of music, the ones that I want to learn that take a long time to learn, and that gives me satisfaction, and I like to learn stuff. But I think I'm going to mix in some of what I would call normal people music. Like, I did this thing recently that started off with shuffles, because I was learning a shuffle, and I was like, God, I just love this. So I started looking for other songs that were shuffles, and then I ended up really just learning a lot of different songs. And at some point I was like, I don't know if these are shuffles or what they are. So I was like, you know what I mean? Like the project kind of changed, because I was like, I'm not sure I can call these shuffles. So I called it like blues and rock songs or something. But I did get, it was like a whole new set of comments, like different types of people, I think, that are interested in that sort of more accessible music, right? So that's what I'm thinking is it's going to be like, get whatever, 40%, like these big, weird things like Zappa-esque type music, and then 40%, like I'm going to do a Bowie thing, I think, with a bunch of Bowie songs, just kind of, again, kind of a mashup. And then maybe 10% like original music and other, kind of art project type stuff. Yeah. Yeah. So that would be like, so that was kind of a lengthy answer actually to your question, but hopefully that seems to be the only kind I have.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. I just kind of ask the questions and whatever. If you get one word answers or 100,000 word answers, it doesn't matter to me.
So far, no word answers. Yeah. You know what? So when I play music with people like live, not to talk as much because I want to seem cool, and if you don't talk, if you're kind of quiet, sometimes people just assume you're cool, so, and like if I do talk, I tend to get like really excited about stuff and like I nerd out. So a lot of times the first few times I play with people, I'll just like only every third will actually come out of my mouth. The other times they'll just kind of nod and be so,
that's funny you say that because I've always been more of the quiet type, and I feel the exact opposite. I feel like the people that talk more are the ones that people think are cool.
Interesting.
Yeah, just a cool little tidbit. Okay, so the third question is, can you give me an example of when you had to exercise leadership?
Okay. So actually, I have some thoughts on that. So I think with leadership, when that comes up, for whatever reason, we spend a lot of time thinking about leadership skills as like motivating people. You know what I mean? Like, and I think what leaders are really supposed to do is don't like you tell people what it is we're gonna do and like how we're gonna do it, right? Like how it's gonna work, like that kind of stuff. And where that comes from is actually having the knowledge and skills and experience. So, I mean, I think a lot of people in the business world, which, people are very ambitious, right? So people want to be promoted and they will ask about, their career path, which is totally understandable and wise, right? But the thing is that what people don't often understand is you will be a leader when you're like the best one at whatever it is you do. You know what I mean? That's like, you have to be something challenging happens, you have to be like, oh yeah, I've seen this before, right? Here's what we're gonna do. So, I mean, I do think it is important to have the ability to get other people excited and inspired and explain why it is we should all be, working late or whatever it is we're doing. But I think people overlook that a lot. It's just like your own mastery is important, and like, so in my like daytime work world, I'm in sales, and like one of the things with salespeople is you could tell people this is like your new sales manager, but if people don't know who that person is and have never seen what they can do, they're like, all right, whatever. Like they just don't care if they've seen that person and they have credibility, right? That because they know what they're doing. This is a different story. So that's my thoughts on that. Like figure out what it is that you want to be spending your time doing, and you have to get good at that. And hopefully you enjoy it because you're going to be doing it all day long, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
cool. Let's see. If you can, tell me about a challenge or conflict at work or any place, and how you dealt with it, whether it was resolved peacefully or maybe not peacefully.
All right. So I will tell you, when I was in fourth grade, I was in band. Okay, I was playing saxophone. It was my first year playing saxophone. I was sharing a stand with this guy, Ryan. I'll leave his last name out. Protect the innocent. I'm sure he's concerned. So he was my friend Todd's older brother. He was in sixth grade. So, and I remember this so clearly. They taught us about repeats. So like we had this music stand and they were like telling us what a repeat was. And I got really excited about it. And I was like, oh, I get it. So then we go here, and then we go there, and then we go there, and then we go back to there, and he was like, up. And I was like, I just ignored him. So then he punched me, and then I lost it and started pounding him. And then with the two of us were just attacking each other. And then we got sent to the principal's office. So I'm not sure what the life lesson is there, but you can take that. That's how I resolve conflicts. And to this day, that method has served me well. So.
Nice. You know, there's nothing wrong with taking out a little aggression now and then.
What a douche. Yeah, and he was 6th grade. He had pink button shirts, and he would always have them open at the top, and his hair was feathered because it was the 80s, and he just thought he was the shit. I had to take him down a notch. Sorry about swearing, but it had to be done. So
nice. Okay, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
So I guess it's interesting on the professional side. Maybe it actually mirrors like the music stuff. I don't think about things very in a linear way. I think a lot of people in like the business world are very much like, so how long do I have to do what I'm doing now before I do something that's better and I get paid more money, right? And it's like, I mean, to me, it's kind of like that is important. I mean, I always would like to have more nice things and be able to do stuff, but you have to be into what you're doing, I mean, the other thing I think that is going on is the way the labor market is, or with the way professional world is today. Things move really quickly and they change a lot. So there are things that I want to do and don't want to do professionally, or want to do more or less. But to some extent, I try to be really good with change, and if when things come around, be like, I try not to decide what it's going to be like when it happens. Like, oh, it's going to be like this, right? Because you don't really know, right? So, but on the music side, I think what's going on is basically, my hands and feet and things don't work with the ideas. It's like I want to be able to play like with the passion that's going on in my head. Play with that level of passion, and I can't do it. So yeah, I want to keep going. I want to like total destruction. That is the goal. Total destruction. Just like, I love when you see musicians like a Django Reinhardt, where you're like, I don't even know what that person is doing, but it's freaking cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, I don't know. I've just always, type of, playing has always been exciting for me, So, but yeah. And then, I mean, the big picture is like, so I have a degree in music composition, so I didn't get a degree in like performance, right? It was more like about writing music in theory, and I don't do a lot of it because it's so time consuming, and it's not as fun as playing the drums. But I think it is important to try to do that stuff. I mean, like, you've written a ton of stuff, although once you told me you had written that over a long time, it felt a lot better. Yeah. But I mean, you've written a lot of songs, so I'm sure it can be, something that seems like a cool idea to develop. It can just, by the time you're done with it and it's mixed and everything, you're just like, God, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. So I do want to write stuff. And I think, I would like to play with people more, but just not right now. I do play with people sometimes, but I'm getting enough excitement and enjoyment just out of like learning songs and playing. And there's so many things that I can't do that can't play, the styles I'd like to play. And there's like a list of projects that it goes around the corner, of stuff that I would love to do. So it's like, although playing with people is a totally different skill set, and I'm sure I'm rusty, in terms of the reaction and stuff like that, but never play for a reason, right? It's supposed to be fun and enjoyable. So for me, I could just, I like playing with myself. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So
nice. Nothing wrong with that.
No, I really, yeah. So that's what I'll be doing for a while. I don't know the end goal, but it's
cool. So interpret this question however you want to. I've been trying to think about different scenarios and different role playings, and I can't really figure out a good one. So I'm just gonna let you decide how to answer this. Me as some sort of boss, why should I hire you?
Mm. I don't steal anything of value
Okay.
from the workplace. You know,
That's good to know.
and I mean, there have been discussions at previous jobs with HR. Nothing really came of it. So as far as you know, nothing happened. And and I just would encourage you to check my references. Some of them, their phone numbers change a lot. They're kind of itinerant people, maybe difficult to reach. Other than that, I'm very excited to start at your firm.
Great.
Please. Yes.
All right. I'll have to get back to you on that one. Okay, so let's go to the last 6 set of questions, which I feel are the most fun. They're what I call speed dating questions. So I got these questions off of...
So just so you know, usually it's not necessary for me to actually expend effort to date. I just show up and the rest takes care of itself. So, but for the purpose of this experiment, we'll assume that I actually engage in dating. So, okay. I'm willing to do this thought experiment. Yeah, proceed.
Yeah, here we go. Pretend that I am a prospective date. Or, I mean, we're on the speed dating thing here. So I am your date, but maybe I'm your prospective more than just a date.
You could be my life partner.
Yeah, maybe.
You could be that special someone.
Uh-huh. So, okay. Have you traveled anywhere interesting lately?
I mean, I usually take the bus to meet my parole officer at least once a week. Other than that, I'm not supposed to travel in certain areas. But we won't get into that. No. What about you? Where have you been? I would turn it and throw it back over to you. That shows I'm a good listener.
I haven't been anywhere in a while, but I think I'm gonna leave now.
Yeah. I also have a remote cabin. I could show you the cabin. It's out there. No phone.
I'm sure it's nice, but I think I'll have to pass.
All right, you're lost. See, this is why I don't date. It's like you're frustrating.
Nice. Okay, well, what's your favorite place to eat?
You know what is funny? I would tell you in reality, I am so much less into food than I used to be. So when I was in my 20s, 30s, I lived in Boston, and that was kind of when I would go out. It was wanted to find all the best restaurants and try different stuff, and then in New York also. I know you said you lived in New York for a while, right? So if you're into fine dining, man, it's New York's pretty crazy. But now I just don't care. I'm just if I could take a pill and not have to eat, I really would do it now. Food has no interest for me. So usually, actually, the literal answer question is probably the trunk of my car, because I keep Honey Nut Cheerios for my kids in the trunk of my car. So when I go in and out of work, I'll take out some Honey Nut Cheerios. I'll put them in a cup and I'll eat some Cheerios. This is yeah. So on a date, that probably would not be a good story. That would not be a good story to tell. I'll just, again, so you can see why I don't date. This is you gotta use some certain stories you can tell, and it makes you seem cool, and others it makes you seem like you're a serial killer, you can't tell them. So it's very challenging.
You never know, because my favorite food is cereal. I mean, it's so super convenient, and it never gets old for me. And who knows? Maybe if you're actually on an actual speed dating thing, and you answered the questions honestly, maybe they might like cereal too.
Yeah, I'd like to start judging. Be like, well, what do you typically eat? They'd be like, oh, I usually have a smoothie, and be like, figure. So what do you just right from the beginning? Nothing like a little judgment,
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah, man. So yeah, it's and it's funny because now I'm out here. I'm not from California, and that's the thing one of the things I noticed out here is people are really into their food, right? Really into where it came from and how it was sourced and all that stuff. Not that that's not important, and not that I don't care at all about stuff like that, but it's like not something I really lose sleep about. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
let me put it that way. So yeah, that was an adjustment.
I bet.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's a question that uh, I haven't asked the previous two. This is a newer question.
Uh-oh.
If you could invite anyone, dead or alive, to dinner, who would it be?
Oh man. Oh my god. No, it's funny. I was just thinking, I'm gonna go with like Bobby McFerrin. I just like that dude.
Huh.
Have you watched videos of him perform?
I mean, yeah, on stage.
Yeah. I just want to find out what he's all about because like I like first of all, you know, he seems like he's enjoying life significantly more than I am somehow. Although you know, maybe he's like, you know, he's like successful doing what he does, you know, musically and stuff. But he seems happy and well adjusted. And then if you pay attention to the stuff he does, I think he does have perfect pitch. Like he can sing anything. And I mean, I can't tell if it's perfect because I'm not stopping and checking it, and I, you know, with a piano or something. But it appears to be perfect, and it's like, you know, that's. I just want to know like how do you start playing music, like stuff like that. And he seems cool, right? He seems cool because not all musicians that you would like, you know, you would want to hang out with, right? Which actually like brings me. There's another thing that I have noticed, which is the music that I like to listen to is not always the same as what I actually am interested in playing. So like, you know, on a day-to-day basis, like when I go to work, for example, in the morning or whatever, driving to work, it's metal, like hardcore metal, like Mastodon or whatever, like 95% of the time, you know? But like, it's not really exciting to me to play, like try to play the blast beats or whatever, you know, like the things I would rather play could be something like funk, right, where there's more room to do things or whatever. So, and like, or like the Talking Heads, like one of my all-time favorite bands, the Talking Heads, terrible drummer. Like the drums are pretty much like he only plays 2 and 4, which is fine, but it's like lifeless. You know what I mean? Like he kind of like flops on the 2 and 4, like. But I don't really care because that's not what they're about for me. It's like I'm listening to other stuff. You know what I mean? So there is a really big, and then there's stuff that like, you know, this will happen a lot. I think with pop songs, I'll be like, that song is stupid, you know, and then you play it and you're like, you know what, that's actually pretty cool, you know, because there's things going on that, like, not that I have judgments or like I'm a snob or anything, right? You know, but you know, but like there's more stuff. It's more fun than you would think, right? So yeah. That's something I noticed over the past few years, which is, I guess it's always been there. Like once I thought about it, I realized there had always been stuff. Like I would say on the same lines, like with something like metal, a lot of times people talk about the vocals or whatever, and I'm like, it never even occurs to me to think about what the lyrics are. Like it's not, you know, like like whatever Dave Mustaine is saying about I'm not gonna like base my opinions on what he thinks. Like he's an idiot. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna learn about how to like interpret the world, you know, through like Slipknot or whatever. So I have no idea what the songs are about usually, you know, and it's like that visceral kind of reaction from the song, right? So it's weird. Like there's a lot of things that I think we all have these habits or things that we, you know, you kind of assume, or maybe it's because I'm an introvert. Like I have a lot of stuff that goes on in here that I don't always communicate externally, right? That's the introvert way. So
cool. All right. Yeah, Bobby McFerrin. That's a really interesting answer. I mean,
I don't know where that came from.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't have.
That was not definitely not.
Years. Okay. Next question. Do you have anything fun planned coming up?
Well, you know, so this is the way it works for me is like I pretty much will have one weekend, usually with my kids, and then another weekend by myself, like, or you know, without my kids. So those weekends, I go deep, like I do a lot of drum stuff. But then, you know, like this weekend coming up, I'll have my kids. So, you know, we just do like normal stuff, like suburban, you know, sports stuff, things like that. And then I do get them into music, but it's kind of funny because like I try to be careful about it because I don't want to be like a sports dad, you know, except with music. You know what I'm saying? because it's like you can. I don't know about you, but I can go from like I can get pretty intense about it, But like, so with them, I usually they play piano, and I think one of them's gonna like try School of Rock, and so I'm just like, oh, did you have fun? Like I just try to ask if they, but sometimes we do get into. I try to teach them things, like it's kind of cool. They can like both of my kids can pretty much understand like how time signatures work now. They're 7 and 9. So yeah. In fact, I was in the car and my younger daughter was like, "This is in 1." I was like, "This is not in 1." I'm like, "This, you could argue that this is in 2, but this song is in 4." And she's like, "Nope, it's in 1." I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna stop the car. Like, we are not arguing about this. Okay, certain things where I am right and you're wrong, and this is one of those things, But yeah, so, and the other thing is like I have recorded them. There's some stuff I recorded of them sometimes. I'll get them to like sing some phrases or something, and then try to mix it into like a techno type song or whatever, where they hear themselves. And there's one I did where like my daughter's voice gets higher and higher, and they loved it. They were like really into it. So, yeah, I try to get them into music stuff, but I definitely am not a believer in the pressure, because it's like I always feel like it's like the opposite. If you push someone, if you force fly, then eventually they'll be like, okay, now that you're not forcing me, I'm not going to do this anymore because I hate it, So, you know what I mean? So I figure you got to let people kind of come to it. But
yeah, for sure. Awesome. Yeah. That sounds like
so for me. Actually, this is like guys, like introvert fun. If you divided all of my time that I am not working or sleeping, I would either be playing drums, hanging out with my kids, or gardening. Like I do a lot of gardening and landscaping. So that's pretty much it. Yeah. So
cool. Okay, here's one of the older questions. Where's one place you've always wanted to visit but haven't yet?
So for the most part, I abhor traveling. So I mean, I don't mind traveling like to USA, but like any super long flights, I hate it. So I think my passport's actually expired, so I'm not a big traveler. But I would like to go to India, just because there's different cultures, and then the other stuff is the other thing is lately I've studied some songs, and the songs I've been learning have different types of Indian. I don't even know what type of folk tradition it would be within Indian music. It's like, obviously there's not like one monolithic block of Indian music, right? So there's some specific like, type of folk music, and I don't know what it is. It was freaking awesome. And this, this is the thing. It blew my mind. I started to realize there's some of the, I guess you would call it the counting theory they use or whatever. It makes, like, if you were to write it into measures, it's a total waste of time. It's just not organized like that. Yeah, it's like different counting patterns. And, like, sometimes I'll try to write them, but it is not the same system that I'm used to where you have, like, repeated measures that have a certain number of beats. It's like, it's just a different music theory. It's not Western music. You know what I mean? Like, it's not from the Western music tradition. So that kind of that was crazy when I was like realizing that. I'm like, oh, no one, this is a whole different thing. So I would love to figure out, and I started researching it online, and even just like if you look up like Indian classical dance, there's like 8 or 9 different traditions of dance, like alone, that all have their own dances, but their own music and stuff too. So there's just that's the type of place that would be interesting. I've done like the Europe thing, like when I lived on the East Coast, like I went to Europe, and Europe is cool. I mean, obviously from a cultural perspective, it like can blow your mind, right? But I kind of feel like I got a flavor of that. So yeah, and plus like I would just love to see the landscapes and stuff. Like some of the temples and things like I've seen pictures of are just like, it's like, does that place like really does that really exist? Like, So yeah, but I'll never go there. I will never see Australia or New Zealand ever. It's just not happening. I'm not. I mean, like, so when people talk about them or Tahiti, I'm like, Tahiti seems Bora Bora. It looks great. Like, but it's not worth it to me. But I always feel like also like if you live in a, like say you live in a major metropolitan area, there's so much stuff that you've never checked out. Like there's like this weird looking music store that is huge that is right by where I work that I've never even walked in, you know? And I'm like, so a lot of times I'm like, I always wonder, like, why do people have to go so far to find interesting things to do? You know, because there's stuff around you that you know you should do and you never you never do it, right? So yeah. I don't know. Or maybe that's just like a really well thought out way to be, you know, like a homebody, right? I don't know.
Yeah. So. Cool. That's a great answer. I mean, I love the honesty going on here. Yeah. Okay, so the last question. We're actually at the last question. It's crazy. This is a new question. How would your best friend describe you?
Oh man. So the person who's my best friend, I would say, is this artist who lives on the East Coast, and he does a lot of animation and other types of visual art, sculpture, and stuff like that. So I think like he would say very positive things about me because, you know, when we've collaborated on stuff, we've just had a lot of fun. I haven't done it lately because I've kind of wanted to I haven't done any collaboration because I'm just don't want to commit. You know, it's just like, look, I'm doing other things and I don't want to do something I can't follow through with. But we had a really good time together. I'll tell you one thing we did is we created. It was like I was trying the idea of putting a little intro on my videos, which a lot of people do, you know, for obvious reasons. And he created this that was like this duck driving a car, you know, and it kind of like peels out and stuff. So I found some sounds from like a Camaro, and so the engine is like gunning, and then they were, you know, and when we put it together, we just freaking laughed until we almost peed ourselves, you know, like because it just like it fit together perfectly, and it was like, man, it was so much fun. So yeah, I mean that's the person that probably say warm things about me, but I mean that is also the type of person that I think would say that when you work with me on something, you know, you can expect a level of quality and follow through and stuff. And do you know the book Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance? Have you ever?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like the book that in college I had to read it in like a required course. And it just, you know, this concept of like quality and like doing things with quality, you know, I really got into that. And same thing with the friend I was talking about. I went to college with him. We were like, yeah, that's what it's about, you know? So, I mean, one of the things that I try to do is I don't make very many videos. I mean, that's the reality. It's like, because the things I do, it's just, I mean, I could be more creative and figure out ways, but what I want is when people see it come up, I want people to be like, oh, it's going to be good. Like, it's definitely going to be, you know, something that is worth watching. No, I don't know. That's kind of what I'm after, you know, because that's like, it's like, I'll tell you, going back to dining, actually, there's one time where I ate out at Danielle in New York. I don't know if you know this place. No. There's a guy, Daniel Bouloud, who's a French chef that's on TV a lot and stuff. And his sort of, you know, one of his restaurants is called Danielle. So it's like in Midtown. And what made me think of it is the service was great, but then once they hit that level where the service was great, then they just kept hitting it, and I started to freak out. Like, and you know, the person I was with, we were just like. It was like they were so good that after, and so like with a musician, to me, that's like when the thing starts and you're like, oh yeah, this sounds, this is pretty cool. But then they start doing all these little things that show you that, oh, they know the song inside and out, and they, you know, and you're like, oh, that must have taken forever to figure that out. To me, that like, then the appreciation starts to build and build, you know? So yeah, I don't know. And, you know, that's the way, like with mixing, I'm sure with mixing, I mean, I stop until it's as good as I can make it with my stupid rudimentary knowledge of recording. You know what I mean? Because you know, you're playing with the sounds. It's like you got to get it as good as you can get it. You know?
Exactly. I mean, yeah. I actually took the time a couple of weeks ago to watch a few of my first videos, and you know, when I first put them out, I was like, oh, this sounds pretty good. It's not bad. And
Right.
looking back, it
Yeah.
sounds really bad. So, it's all about just kind of doing the best you can in the moment, and hopefully,
Right.
it's kind of like that 100 days project. Like if I look back, um, the first videos was my first one, and my last video is leaps and bounds better than the first one, and you
Yeah.
know it goes to show you how much you can learn, even though you think you're at a good spot.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I think also, you do. There are times you have to get training on things, but just learning by doing. It's funny. I'm on like some groups for the DAW that I use, Studio One, on Facebook, and sometimes people ask questions, and I mean, I can answer them, not like, because there's more than one way to do it, right? Usually with recording, so I can usually say, hey, here's a way that is not crazy, right? Or so, but yeah, there's a ton to learn about it, and people care. That's one thing I realized. People really do care about production quality. A lot of video. I mean, I will say I am like in many things. I am all about substance over style. Like where I feel like, okay, there's sizzle, but where's the steak? I mean, to me, but not everyone's like people like visual things and things that pull them in. So, I think at one point I decided. I was just looking at the lighting and stuff in videos I was doing, and I was like, man, I got to do something, to improve it, right? Yeah. And then now the latest challenge is, so the last recordings I made are the first time I've tried to record acoustic drums, in like 20 years, like so there it was okay, but there was a lot of problems, and it was, I would like to do a better job with that, because now when I listen to it, it's not like a huge deal, but I'm just like, yeah, that could be a lot better. Just the way I recorded the drums, because that's a tricky thing,
Yeah, totally.
But
I mean, I've been doing this for 2 years now. I've had my studio in my basement for 2 years, and it's taken me about 2 years to be happy with my sound. And of course, maybe 2 years from now, I'll have an even better sound.
It's not always just a better too. Like you might like different sounds, right? But I can appreciate some of the sounds like on the record. So on like the out of body record, there's some song, I can't remember the name of it, like Starstruck or something. But it's like at one point you hit a splash, and it's like, yes, like that is how a splash, like that's what a splash is supposed to sound like. If I could pick it up and like put it wherever I hit a splash, I would, So there's some things that came through really nice. I mean, I can see, and then some of the guitar sounds you get and stuff. They're really, and it's always like, look, it's so hard. You're always going to be your worst critic. I mean,
totally, yeah.
Yeah, it's so hard to look at stuff that I've done before. There's always things that bother me, but it does get better. I mean, like, and even on one of the things I noticed is, since I've been on this thing where I've learned a bunch of songs that were really hard for me to play, and I had to analyze it to get through it, I've gotten faster at it. So that's been kind of cool, where, if it's like a complicated passage or whatever, like my first guess at what it is like a lot closer, just because I've been doing it more, right?
Yeah.
So that's been pretty rewarding, which is just another type of musical skill, whatever the writing and all that. You don't have to do it, but it can be helpful. I did want to mention that we're talking about, things like exercises and stuff on Instagram. I mean, I definitely do not look at my drum teacher. I don't think I'm qualified to teach drums, and like, and that's one of those things early on when I saw other people who made drum teaching videos who really know what that's about. I was like, oh yeah, like they've got that covered. You know what I mean? So I do it more just for fun. Like that's why there's all these double bass things you'll see now, because that's what I'm playing. And if I do something cool enough that I like it and I use it a couple days, then I'm like, oh, let me see if I can throw this up. Maybe someone else. But that I was just thinking about this. Like, it's like the whole culture around putting up exercises for people to play. When one of the things that worked well for me in terms of meeting people on social media, the other musicians, was I would like actually take the thing and I would learn it and record it and be like, hey, I learned that thing. You know, because it's like you never see that happen. Like I think we all assume that somebody out there is watching and not publishing stuff, and they're hopefully learning the thing. And there people ask questions, right? So yeah, that's happening, right? But I was like, it. I mean that not to do that, right? So someone would put up an exercise, I'd record it, and be like Earl, some stuff Earl had done. I was like, hey, you know, I don't remember what it was. Check this out. And people really appreciate that because they're like, oh wow, you know, went and did it. You didn't just look at it like, oh, that's super cool, awesome, you know, like so.
Yeah, I think people appreciate the extra effort. It's not it's something that's few and far between, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I take look, I try. Never, if I comment on something, I try to watch the whole video at least once if I'm going to comment. And like the other thing is with comments, I try to find something specific that I like. And if I can't think of something, sometimes I just don't comment. You know, if I can't think of anything nice to say that I really mean, you know, like not like I don't mean it, then I just like I'll like it and I move on, right? You know, so it's kind of a weird culture that's going on, right? Because it's almost like black or white. You can either be really effusive and positive about people, or you can be like the hater and like, you know, but like, what about in between, right? Like the world's not black and white. Like, you know, I think, I mean, what do you think? Like, seriously, do you think if you're in a community and not just drummers, like just the, you know, global kind of YouTube music group or whatever, like if you're in a community where you can say positive and constructive things, but not like specific constructive things, right? Like it's not really accepted unless someone asks to be like, hey, you really should work on this, right? And not that like, what do I know, right? Yeah. But I'm telling you, like, do you think that creates any downstream effects in the long run? If there's a whole section of conversation that you can't have or it's not permitted, you know what I mean?
So that's an interesting question because I think you can't generalize that. That's something that is, I think, a case by case basis, right? Like every musician is different in the way that they take criticism, or you know, like even what are they even like trying to do? Like I've seen so many drummers that are out there that are, you know, not very good, but it seems like they're just having a lot of fun, or maybe that's just something that they do. Yeah. So it's not like I don't think those kind of guys are looking for criticism. You know, they're just looking for positive reinforcement and whatnot. And if all they're doing is having fun, then so be it. You know, like I'm not going to rain on their parade.
Yeah.
But then
that's a good point.
On the other hand, you know, like there's guys that go all out on their channel and they like there's a lot of fluff and they play and it's like crazy and all of this stuff and you know they want the positive reinforcement too, but maybe they're you know maybe they're taking it super seriously, but they don't take they take the channel seriously, but they don't take the craft seriously. Right. That's where I kind of have a problem. And then usually like I still like I don't like confrontation. Like I'll usually
me neither.
Like
I hate it.
Stay away. Yeah. So you know, unless someone personally attacks me, I'm just gonna kind of leave them be. I won't say anything nice, but I won't say anything mean either.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I think it's funny because you know you made me realize like I do have a lot of implicit assumptions, you know, about like the way I'm approaching things. You know, and like like it's true. I mean, people that make YouTube videos playing music just because it is to do. I mean, frankly, it's really fun, you know? Yeah, I think you're right. I guess it's just like I'm always in that self-coaching mode, you know, where I'm like, I think so hard about what are the things that I can do and what are the things that I need to work on and, you know, what's realistic, you know what I mean? Like, and like, just, you know, I think about it a lot. So I have to remember that not everyone has the same goals, the same vague, poorly defined, distant goals that I have articulated to you today. So, you know, I just wonder about that. And I mean, the other side of it is, I will tell you, I don't need to be careful, but like if somebody comes to me and I work really hard on the things they put on there, like a lot of people that will watch this, and someone says something really positive, I love it. I live for that. Like, but then you see the same. If I see the same type of, comment, and it looks almost like it's like being blanketed across the board, then I'm like, like it just seems like that's why again I try to say specific things, because I don't want to like go onto people's things and be like, I don't know, sounds great. Like sometimes I do say that, but I try to be like, sounds great, especially the part where you did that, So I guess what I'm realizing is we need a better system for feeding my ego. We need a better way to keep me happy, because I'm just not getting the positive reinforcement I want. No, I'm kidding. But like, yeah, I just wonder about that, because the other part of it is just in terms of personality. I tend to be like I don't have a lot of artfulness, like whatever kind of think, or, I mean, I'm not a total idiot, like, walk up to someone like your hair is stupid, but like, just, I'm not very good at, subtlety. And so I tend to just be like very open with people, like, and so that's why when there's unspoken rules like that, it's harder for me to navigate, so.
Yeah, that's interesting, because like, I actually want to talk about an kind of unspoken rule. I think a lot of the times when you see sort of generic comments, I think it's because they're working on their channel and they want to garner comments on their channel, and so they'll go to other people's channels. You see it a lot. Like a lot of times, I'll comment on somebody's channel, and then they'll come and comment on my channel, and that's the only time I'll ever see them comment. So
it is funny, because sometimes I will comment on someone's channel just because I looked at my subscriptions and something came up and I watched it, and they will immediately go comment on mine, like, because it's a quid pro quo, like, I'm like, yeah, exactly. Oh, I'm glad they came and looked at my channel, but that I actually was just watching that thing. Yeah, I do know what you're talking about. So one of the things I've started doing is, again, this goes back to like, who are my tribes, right? Like, and thinking more carefully about that. So if you just like go out, like say you look for drummers, right? Yeah, there's certainly things that I have in common with drummers, but one of the things I've started to do is just look for like metal covers, because usually, not always, right? Metal is not like one thing. There's a lot of things, and but I like Iron Maiden. I can always, if someone plays Iron Maiden, I will go and talk to them, and we'll end up talking to each other, So what I've realized is, maybe think you have common interest with, broadly, right, in music. So that's been, I don't know in terms of like channel growing or whatever, but in terms of my like the quality of my interactions, it's been fun. So I think I'm going to keep doing that. And then I do try to find, I don't know, it's like, sometimes when I was like early on, not early on musically, but early on in my work career, like a lot of older people helped me out, and they had like no reason to do that, like other than they were like, you clearly are lacking some key information, so let me help you, So I do like, sometimes I'll find someone who's like, maybe seem like they're a teenage guy or girl and they're really into the drums, and like there's like no one watching their channel, so those people sometimes I'll try to like get to know, and then I can also try to convince them to listen to Iron Maiden. Ultimately, at some point in the relationship, that is going to happen, whether it happens right away or like down the road, but so that's been something I've been doing lately. And yeah, I am aware of that dynamic, and I think it's like, I don't think it's necessarily an unhealthy dynamic. It's just like, there's that audience you're courting that it's basically your peers. And sometimes even though, that intention is there, it still ends up being a quality interaction, right?
Yeah.
The other thing I try to do is like go back to people and give the channel several chances. Cause like, I'll tell you with Earl Bennett's channel, he's going to hear this probably, but like, at first I just wasn't that into it. I was like, yeah, this guy can play jazz, I guess. Like, that's pretty good. After I watched it a few times, I was like, oh wow, I really liked that. And then I started to get really more into it, and obviously now I watch like a lot of the things, not everything because he puts out so much stuff, but a lot of it. And it's like I look forward to it, like the Ask Girl Anythings. I will put those on, and like just whatever, if you're doing housework or something, or like if I have to you change a head in your drums or something, or in the car. So I don't know. That's yeah. I definitely try to go back a few times, and then like if I go back and then I'm like, yeah, I still just hate this person's music. Then I mean, sometimes that happens. I'm like, whatever you're into, that's cool, but I am not into that. Just this last week, I had this cool interaction I found there was like this singer, and it was like one of those things where I went through a comment to somewhere, and she was singing these kind of like husky, pop songs. Husky is a terrible word, but like, kind of low register, emotion songs. Not husky like, big and around the hips, not like that. So I was like, have you heard like jazz, I like jazz standards, and she was like, I have no idea what that is, but could you share some? So I gave her like some Billie Holiday stuff and things that I was like, because, Billie Holiday has that, that really kind of low down and sad kind of sound, frankly, because she had a really tough life, but so that was really fun, and the person was like, cool, I can't wait, I'm gonna record this. I was like, well, all right. So I mean, those types of interactions I've been enjoying, which are more random, it's like that person, it probably doesn't give a crap what I do on my channel, right? But it was just kind of fun. But yeah, it's cool. I like the exploring, so
yeah, it's so like I don't want to say that YouTube and the musician and drummer communities have changed my life, but they've definitely added a new chapter to it, just because of all of the great people that I've been able to meet, basically all around the world. I mean, we've got guys from all over Europe, Brazil. We got some guys in Australia. It's crazy. A couple of guys in Japan, and just the technology. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I really maybe I just posted it. I don't know. I just really wish that my uncle was around to see how small the drum community has become because of communications and technology. It probably would have blown him away.
Yeah. The access to stuff is crazy. Like how easy it is to get stuff. I mean, at least we're alive to take advantage of it. That's all I can say, because I remember like trying to learn, I think you posted something on Instagram about cassettes, like trying to learn a song from a cassette, was a huge pain in the ass. And now, I mean, on my phone, I have an app where I can slow down a specific segment as much as I want. It doesn't go out of tune, and I can, it makes it so much easier. It's on the phone, not for the communication part, but just in terms of like, your ability to do the stuff you want musically, it's huge. But yeah, I mean, one thing that's been cool, I really enjoy about the community, which was not at all what I was expecting to get out of it, is just seeing people from other parts of America. Because, I mean, I am, whatever, I lived in, Massachusetts and New York and now Northern California. And like, so on places like Facebook, like 95% of what I hear is all from a certain type of, political view. And I know we won't get into the specific politics, but like, I like to hear from people that have different perspectives in different parts of the country. I really enjoy that. So that's been something I didn't expect, that would happen.
Totally.
Yeah.
I imagine because I grew up in LA, and there's a plethora of musicians out there, not just drummers, but like just everybody goes there, right? So
you're so lucky, man. You're so lucky.
Everyone. It's strange because everyone thinks the same, like in every aspect, politically, socially.
Oh yeah, it's like monoculture.
Yeah. So when you're exposed to different people from different parts of the country or the world or whatever, and they have different points of view, it's really refreshing to know that not everybody, feels and thinks the same, even though they're into the same types of things.
You know what? Even some engage with the person, because if you kind of know their point of view, happen with politics and news is you'll hear a headline and you hear it a certain way, and then you realize as you get to know someone that has different views, oh, they're hearing that headline, they're thinking slightly different things, and that's that can set you back a little bit, in terms of you're all hot about your political views, right?
Totally,
so, yeah. So I enjoy that, and I do sometimes get into it with people. I will say that I'm usually not shy about my opinions, but I'm also totally willing to revise them. Like I was talking to someone about just like the Boeing 737 problems, and actually took a course that had a lot to do with like airline safety, like data. And so I was like, oh, I know about airline safety, and like so I started arguing with someone in my family, and it turned out they had like researched the whole thing, and everything I brought up, they were like, you would think that, but it's really like this, And so after a few days, I was like, I just didn't know. You had the information, And so you have to be willing to revise your opinions, That's like the whole key to this having dialogue thing, right?
Yeah, it's super important. I mean,
yeah. So yeah, that has been nice. Yeah, like kind of less, like you were saying, less kind of monocultural, and just you get different perspective on stuff, and see window into people's lives, right? So
yeah, and it makes, when you get to know people's character, not just from a musician's standpoint, but from just like a life standpoint. It makes, whenever they have any kind of criticisms or suggestions or whatever, it makes it a lot easier to take, because the person, and there's just this connection now.
Yeah, so, definitely.
Whereas before, like if you're just the guy coming in and saying, oh, you should be doing this, or you should be doing that, or maybe you should do this, like get to know the people. I mean, that's just how a good society works, right? You don't just come in barking orders. You get to know the person. You have a like cordial moment, and then you start, getting into the real nitty gritty.
And I think you can. The other thing that's kind of surprised me is you can learn from many different types of musicians. Some of whom are like, and I'm not trying to be all like the world is like sunshine and goodness, but like even people that you might not like their music, sometimes I can learn something or take away something they did well, and I'm like, okay, so that's what, like, I would say that, for example, just as one example, there's a lot of people I interact with that are more into kind of like more of a straight ahead rock feel than I am, but I've learned from watching them, I'm like, the way they play the time and things that they do are a different skill set that like I don't have. You know what I mean? Like, not that I can't keep time. I can keep time, but I'm just like, they've focused on something different and it sounds good in a way that, like, if I played the stuff on that Jeff Holden plays, it would not sound good. I can tell you. Like, it's like, and some of it is technically quite difficult. It's not, but it just sounds really good. And I'm not trying to just be like nice. It's like, he's played in a lot of rock bands. He has this style and like the way he hits the drums. That's one of the things I've learned in the last year or two. The actual way you hit them, it seems to make a big difference. So, but yeah. So cool. And I think that's part of why I was excited to talk to you also, because I feel like the things that I record it may require some explanation, right? Because it's like I'm into some different stuff. Like just in sort of closing, I know we'll probably get towards like things like John Zorn and Naked City. I don't know if do you know John Zorn? It would be like the East Coast version of Mr. Bungle. But more jazzy instead of rock. Yeah. And that I actually did. There is one song on my channel from John Zorn and Naked City. That is an album, and it's easy for me. People are like, "What's your favorite album, of all time?" John Zorn, Naked City, right away. I do feel like it helps for me to get people because I might have weird opinions or right that are unusual. But when you get the whole picture, it kind of makes more sense. So
yeah, like to actually to the other side of the spectrum, like I always like to hear there's one guy I want to single out, Marco, Drum Saga. I don't know his full channel, but
right.
I mean, that guy is a human DJ. He puts out songs that sound like they were on the radio, but weren't. They're like B-sides or whatnot.
Yeah.
But they're always really commercial sounding, but I've never heard of them. And it's crazy because to your side, like I would go to your channel to hear some really far out stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I would go to his channel to hear B-sides or things that never really actually made it, but sound like they could make it. Mm-hmm. And then I would go to other channels where they would play like just straight up pop, something that I would never listen to on the radio, Katy Perry or all those people. And like I would if it came on the radio, I would turn the station, right? But I'm not going to turn the station on a friend or a person that I know from the community. I would watch their video, and it would actually kind of like make the song better.
Yeah.
So in every case, in your case where I don't know the music, it would make the music better. In Marco's case, or in any of the other people's, like it's just knowing the people who are playing the music, and it's not it's just the cover, but still it makes the experience. It's like an experience now. And you're sharing it with this person who's performing it. It's just, I don't know, it's just different than just listening to music on the radio.
Right. Yeah, it's funny. I think it's kind of like if you know the person a little bit, you kind of get more of a feel of what's going on in their head and stuff like that. That's why I was like, it's funny, I like a lot of the stuff, again, to mention Jeff Holden, but he put on Instagram, and there was one day he posted something, and he pretty much was just like, screw it, I just really want to play this song, and I just want to smash the drums or something. And it was like usually his performances are pretty controlled, but it was like massive, which is like what I'm into, so I was like, oh yeah, and I remember just because like it's like, again, I'm kind of familiar with this person, so you could almost tell like his mood is different. And actually, I was posting on an Eric DeWeese video. There was something where I said I really like the aggression, and he said, "Oh, it's funny you say that. Like I had a problem take, and I was kind of pissed when I did this, But to me, because of the stuff I'm into, I'm like, oh no. I was like, I like that. I could feel the bad intention, I'm like, that was cool, man. So I'll tell you. One channel I'm really into that's not related to music at all is actually I don't know if can you see my shirt, or it has some Russian Cyrillic writing on it. Anyways, there's this group called Stop Ham, or like it's in English like Stop a Douchebag. And so what they do is in Russia, in Moscow, people like totally flout the traffic laws. So they just like drive wherever they want. I mean, not everyone. There are people that do this, and it would be totally unacceptable where you live. So these guys are like guys and girls are like an activist group. So they'll go out on like a place that people drive that is like a sidewalk. People drive on sidewalks, and they will stand there. And when the cars come up, they confront them, not violently, right? But like, so they have these stickers that say in Russian, they say, I drive wherever I want. So if the person refuses to drive back onto the road, they put these stickers on their windshield, and they're really not easy to get off, and people get really, really mad. So anyways, I do not remember how I found this, but I love it. Like I bought a t-shirt like all about it, but I just love it. And it's like funny too, because I cannot stand confrontation in real life. And it is the most confrontational show because, if someone just stepped in front of your car, you would, honk and you would yell at them. And that's what people do, and they're like, they call them every name in the book. And the people are like, oh, sir, you can't be driving here. There's little children. And anyways, I have to say one non-musical channel that I've been really into. So you could just search for Stop. That is what it's called. So
awesome, man.
Had to share.
Well, yeah, I think I think this is a good time to wrap it up. I think people out there have a good sense of who you are, and hopefully by watching this, they'll want to check out your channel and subscribe.
God, I hope so.
All of that stuff.
I need a third subscriber. I think number 3. I gotta get there. That's my goal for the year. So
you and I both, man.
Yeah, but yeah, and it was like this was really fun. I mean, I feel like I could easily have done this like 4 times, we wouldn't have run out of stuff to talk about. So it's good to talking with you. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, hopefully this kind of, I guess, branches off to other things that I have in mind that I want to do. So,
but you're doing a lot
yeah.
of stuff. You're like Martha Stewart Omni Media. Like you have like podcasts and websites and YouTube channels. You're doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so. I mean, you got to keep busy. You gotta live your dream, I guess. So that's what I'm trying to do. But hopefully there's more in store. I had fun. I hope you had fun.
Yeah, totally. Also, I'll send you a note. You were close to naming your show, but I came up with like 5 or 6 names, so I'll send it to you, and maybe you can rate them on a scale of awesome to excellent. Anywhere in that range would be fine. So, cool, man. All right, have a good one.
All righty, you too.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
All right, bye.